Alright, and here we are, and this is the race 5 of the 2015 B14 World Championships here at McCrae, Australia. And we're all lining up for a start here, and it looks like there's less than 1 minute to go. We've got the class flag up, and the blue Peter's there as well, so just over 1 minute to go, and when that one comes down they'll be into their 1 minute and looking to line up on the start line. As you can see there, all the boats are sort of jostling to get into position and try not to be over when the start gun goes. It's certainly going to be tight at the pin end of the line, and you can see again all those boats are just racking up down the end. As we pan across the line there, you can see there's quite a big gap at the boat end of the line, and there's a number of boats there that are jostling to try and get some space down the pin end of the line, because they're all wanting to head to the shore, because it's certainly the favoured side of the course. It's very tight down here. As we approach the pin end of the line underneath the fleet, you'll see that there's some boats that are running out of space there, and they're actually having to go around the end of the start line and come back up. And it looks like we're very close to a start here. All the boats are starting to pick up pace, and we're off. Oh, hang on a second. Looks like we've had a general recall, so all the fleet's going to have to come back, and it looks like the black flag's coming out again.
Actually, just so that you know, Ken. This is amazing. Yeah.
Hold on, Ken.
Alright, so the fleet are racking up again for the next start, and they'll certainly be wanting to be on their best behaviour, as the black flag has been up. Anyone that's over after a minute to go is disqualified for the race, so their result will not count. So competitors will be hanging back from the line to try and ensure that their race is counted, because the last thing they want is a 38 on the scorecard, because 38 points carried is not much fun at all. There's still a lot of boats trying to jostle for that pin end mark, and they're certainly getting in there as close as they can and trying to make the most of that favoured end of the line. It'll be very interesting, and as you can see there's a couple of little bunches there forming, one very close to the pin end, and again there's boats going around the end of the line because they're just running out of space there. So it'll be interesting to see if all of these boats get off clear. Looks like there's been a bit of a tight one there down the boat end of the line, but the fleet is racing, and they'll certainly be trying to cut out to the right and get a clear lane and head left if they're looking to do well up this first work. And Mark Barnes again at the boat end of the line, ready for his start, and looks like there's some boats tacking off onto port to get that clear breeze. And here's Steve Mitchell rounding in Oz 355. He's certainly hung back there and just tried to get out with clear breeze and to make the most of this start. Looks like the breeze has freshened here after the finish of the race 4, and the boats are heading out both on the wing and certainly making the most out of that and trying to keep moving. There's big gains early on the race course, and again the fleet has spread, so it will certainly be a broad finish once we complete our 3 laps, which is what flag we had up at the start line. So the boats are all going to be doing 3 laps this race. As the boats make their way up the course, they're certainly sailing nice and flat and fast, and the fleet has spread out as we thought, and they're certainly making some good speed upwind. Here comes the yellow bone. Good speed, Looks like they could be sailing a little bit flatter, but they're still going pretty quick there. Anthony's got a very nice McDiamond mainsail and jib on there, and the boat's looking very smart in their yellow vests as well. So good on Anthony for his team coordination there. Alright, and looks like the front runners this race are GBR 761, and that's Chris and Tom sailing on the Whitsundays Marine B14 there. And they've rounded in some fairly light breezes, and they're closely followed by GBR 785. Looks like GBR Oz 782 is right up there as well. That's Andre and Craig from Canberra. They certainly be enjoying these light and shifty conditions, very similar to the likes of Lake Burley Griffin, where they do most of their training. And Rick and Alice are up there in Oz 371 again. They're certainly a great light weather combination, and they're closely followed by their arch nemesis rivals there in Richie and Lisa in the nude. The pressure's certainly fairly light at the moment, and it's very challenging conditions there. To be able to keep their boats moving, and looks like Cromedy Engineering back on the racetrack after having to go ashore for repairs, and they're fairly close and up the front there on the first mark rounding. Here's Alan Davis sailing with Kathy Watts on GBR 787. They're trying to get out to the left there and get into some new breeze and make the most of that. And down the bottom at the first gate rounding, we've got Chris and Tom rounding in first position on the port rounding mark. They're certainly keen to get back out to the left-hand side of the course and use the land in their favour to ensure they get to the mark first again. Alright, this is going to be a tight rounding here. They've dropped their kite right on the mark, and it looks like they've hit the mark. Oh, I wonder if they did. We cut away from that, and it'll be interesting to see if they had to do a 360 after a very close encounter there with the bottom mark. And Oz 370 here is doing very well this race. They've rounded the mark, and they're certainly positioned very well for the final or the second upwind of the race. Here's Oz 156, Ewan and his daughter sailing fairly quickly there upwind, and they're certainly trying to keep their weight forward, and you've got to keep the nose of these boats in the water at all times. So you'll note that the wing on the B14 actually sticks out the front of where the strut comes out to the boat, and that's so the crew can get their weight as far forward as possible.
Main again, hiking out with body and main.
Rounding a bit further back than what they want to be. It's the local McCrae combination there on Oz 375, I think. Can't quite see there, but they're certainly going to be keen to get back up through the fleet. As you can see, looking across the boats there, you can just see that tidal influence pulling the boats up to upwind as they're sailing across there. And here's Richie and Lisa approaching the mark. They've certainly held their position on the first downwind there, and they're coming in for a jibe drop. Lisa's renowned for some quick drops, so this one's looking a little ugly, but they're getting their kite down and packed, and it looks like they might be going for another jibe into the bottom mark there. And there goes Richie, and Lisa's managed to get the kite packed away, and they're just about to come around that mark, and Richie will pull the mainsail in, and Lisa will pull her jib on. Richie will maintain his hiking position there, whilst Lisa tidies the boat up and prepares the boat for the upwind ahead of them. And as you can see here, the next boat coming down, it looks to be Andre and Craig, who've lost a couple of spots on that downwind. As you can see, it doesn't matter where you go around the top mark, these boats, the positions are so volatile. You get in the right puff, and it's going to totally change your race. And every mark rounding down the bottom here, the crews are going to have to be really careful not to hit the marks, because the tide is just pulling them up onto the mark. So they've got to give it plenty of room and carry plenty of boat speed as they come around the corner and head upwind. Here comes GBR 785. They've dropped their spinnaker early, so it'll be interesting to see how they can get in there for their mark rounding. And they're closely followed by another British boat there. Can't quite see the sail number, but they've certainly dropped their kite early and are going to come in fairly slowly, so they'll have to make sure they give that mark plenty of space. And they've snuck round and they've come up nice and high, so that's another really good point, that when the boats are coming into the bottom mark, they need to be coming in with speed, but they also need to come in wide and point up high to make the most of any mark rounding. Here's Rick and Alice. They're a little bit further back than their first position last race, but they'll certainly be pushing to try and squeeze through the fleet. And it looks like Alice is getting ready there for a kite drop. No doubt they're approaching that bottom mark. And you'll see, oh, there she goes. She blows the halyard and the tack line together. It's a totally different strategy to a lot of the boats out there, but she's got it down and on the deck real quick. And as Alice is so nice and lightweight, she's able to stay in the boat whilst Rick stays hiking out to keep the boat moving and pack that kite. But it means that they can drop their kite a lot closer to the bottom mark. And here comes Mark Barnes and Alicia Clifford. It looks like Alicia's got the kite down on the deck pretty nicely, and she's getting that packed away, which is great. And Mark's coming around the bottom mark, and he's just pulled the jib on there for her while she's packing the kite. And they're closely followed by the GBR 786, which is Leakey and Jerry, and they've also had a really great drop there. Nick and Dave have certainly kept close in there. They're on board 378. On Siren, and again Dave is packing the kite whilst Nick stays out on the wing, and now they're both out there together and they'll be able to get the boat moving. Alright, and Cromedy Engineering have come in. They've held on okay through that first downwind, and Cole's rounded very nicely on that mark compared to the other two boats which are to leeward of him. They've managed to have a much lower rounding, and as you can see there, the clear benefit of rounding fairly close on the mark and coming up with a good rounding. Steve Miller and Lauren Bird have rounded fairly closely to Cole and Claire on Cromedy Engineering, and they're certainly up there again this race. And it looks like Tony Blackmore has, with his crew Meg, have rounded fairly nicely up the front of the fleet there. And it looks like they've come in fairly hot, and they've been closely followed again by Sophie and Andy sailing on Oz 778. And here's the rocket ship 792. They've lost a few places up that down that first downwind, and they'll be looking to try and gain those back again on their way upwind. They're closely followed by Kelvin and Amy sailing on Flipper. Kelvin's boat's the newest boat in the fleet, and they're still going through some teething problems trying to get their boat in order. And closely followed behind them is Robbie and Dave sailing on the Hitcher, also from Tasmania, and they're a great up-and-coming crew, and we'll be certainly looking forward to them coming through the fleet and really making their mark in years to come. All right, so that's it for day 2 of racing. We've had 5 races so far, and the fleet will certainly be looking forward to tomorrow's racing. There's been some pretty varied results, and no doubt the crews that had a bad day today will be certainly looking to improve on their results tomorrow once we get out and sailing on the water. Certain that the crews will be looking to having some better results and some more consistent breezes after today, and the locals will certainly have lost their advantage when it comes to things.
Yeah, it was a pretty tricky racetrack because you know, the pressure's filling in from different sides, but I mean, we had a strategy really of just trying to find that pressure and protect the left-hand side. I mean, there was quite a lot of current running on the course, which did have a massive effect, you know, downwind. But you know, we just kept plugging away and protecting that left really, and we got, you know, use our speed to you know, go forwards on everybody. I don't know if Chris has got some. Chris, have you got any further thoughts?
No, it's just hard work for an old man. I'm feeling every bit my 52 years. But I take my hat off to Bangers because he's just told me he's 57. So I've got no reason to complain at all. 5 more years and sailing like a demon he is. So it's great. It's a nice day on the race course. The race officers did well to get 3 races in. Good day. Thank you very much.